Oftentimes, the greatest rivalries in the game are born during the time when play matters the most to everyone. The Stanley Cup playoffs. The intensity, tenacity, and competitiveness in the game is never higher, as every team, every player, and every fan knows that it's do or die once the postseason comes about. Therefore, when the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs faced each other in round 1, a new rivalry came about between young gun Jake DeBrusk and team instigator Nazem Kadri, which not only brought bad blood to the surface between the two, but also their teams. And really, there isn't a lot of history, so maybe this is false advertising. But even still, how could anyone resist looking at two players that have the hockey world up in arms? So without further ado, here's a look at the league's newest rivalry between Jake DeBrusk and Nazem Kadri. It's game 1 of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs between two teams that have formed their own rivalry over the years that's been reignited by meeting frequently in the postseason. And this one would be no different, as Nazem Kadri made no mistake on laying Jake DeBrusk out early with the slew foot near the boards, and to make it even worse, decided to chirp the Bruins forward from the bench while rubbing it in. This would only solidify how the next game commenced between the two, therefore you could consider this just a preview. After watching the Leafs win their first game at the Garden, the Bees undoubtedly came out having something to prove. But besides winning the game and evening the series, they would prove something else: how much they really hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. And in the middle of the few matinee incidents throughout the game was none other than DeBrusk and Kadri. The two didn't wait long to get reacquainted, as DeBrusk made no mistake in taking down the London native and giving him a taste of his glove not long after. After a couple of shoves, the two were escorted to the penalty box, and as you already know, they were just getting started. Later during the next period, as Kadri came bolting out of the penalty box, DeBrusk could be shown laying out the Toronto forward, who was completely unsuspecting, as they met knee-on-knee in a collision that had Kadri wincing in pain and struggling to make it off the ice. The action itself wasn't met with the discipline that many thought it deserved. As for Kadri though, he was able to eventually return to the game in the final period, thankfully for the Leafs and their concerned fanbase, only to be involved in the extracurriculars yet again. After DeBrusk was shown delivering a questionable hit on respected veteran Patrick Marleau, it was met with a retaliatory cross-check that instantly incapacitated the winger and sent perpetrator Kadri to the locker room after being ejected from the game. This of course was met with massive outrage, as fans from both sides came out from every crevice to defend their team and the players involved. One spectator in particular to voice his opinion was previous NHLer Sean Avery. In a nutshell, minus the profanity, Avery made it clear that he was standing with the Leafs on this one, and also voicing his opinion that Jake was a dirty player, who dished out a dirty hit on seasoned vet Patrick Marleau, and that the only mistake Kadri made initially was not taking out the top row of DeBrusk's teeth from his mouth. In conclusion, this is definitely one of those rivalries that brings the worst out of everyone involved, fans included. The type that almost forces you to pick a side and not look like Switzerland. Regardless, it's still one in the making, only in its infancy at this point. Therefore, I'm sure it's only the beginning of the distaste to be displayed between the two players.